Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to IEM Oakland. Still getting our tech delays taken care of, but we're going to come back in here and just get ready to get back into the game. So, Papa Smithy, what is your prediction? I know you're a caster. Casters don't do predictions, whatever. What is your prediction for this match?
I mean, it's a really hard one.
Rules.
It's a really hard one to get a read on, just because the teams share a lot of the same deficiencies, and then there are question marks specifically around Flash Walls. If this was the same Flash Walls, now if this series was played pre-Worlds, it would be very easy to break Flash Walls, but everything we thought we knew about the Flash Walls, how much the carry trio, Maple, Karsa, and Sword Art could do for this team, even against international opposition, it would have been very comfortable to say Flash Walls just run over a team like Longzhu. But Longzhu looked promising yesterday. Flash Walls had that massive sidestep during Worlds, so it's a very hard one to evaluate. And obviously we haven't seen enough of this first game to really get an impression. So I was kind of seeing which team established themselves, that took control on this game. And my basic prediction is the team that wins game one will win this series. Will it be in 2 games? Will it be in 3? That's hard to say, but I think it's all about showing something both on this stage in Oakland and to your teammates, because there's a lot up in the air about the two teams.
And I'm impressed you have that level of confidence in Longzhu. When we saw them play against Jin Air last time, it was a disaster moving to the late game. These guys had a massive lead, 10K, and they threw a game away on the back of some incredibly poor decisions. Some maybe overly patient Baron baits where they sat around and waited in a bush and tried to bait a Baron for 5 minutes. I like Longzhu, and I believe that their decision is making is better, especially from the marked improvement we saw in Game 2 yesterday. But my big concern is that if they do get a lead, that Flash Wolves are going to be a good enough team to just turn it around when Longzhu go for something too greedy.
Yeah, but I turn it around, Sif, and I remember casting Flash Wolves games specifically in the first week of groups. Obviously didn't get out of groups, but casting those games where they'd be massively ahead at 20 minutes and then spend 30 minutes trying to bait Baron, not really know how to put down deep vision, not really know how to close the game in any other way, and then just kind of get ground out and give the enemy team a chance to go from 2 items to 6 one-team fight, and it's over because of death timers. So I just don't really have a lot of credit to give over to either team. That's why they kind of have to earn higher expectations through a strong performance in a game against tougher opposition than the Chiefs was able to put up yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Meteos learned how to play a champion the span of an entire game, so, Flash Wolves definitely need to be able to close out early. We've seen how, he's just napping. Just taking a little snooze in the chair, waiting for the games to get back in. But yeah, Longzhu, we've seen how strong they are early on. So Flash Wolves, it's kind of a double-edged sword here for them, because they have to get ahead of Longzhu early and then close it out and not give that lead back over. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough one for them, especially with a rookie.
Yeah, and the rookie is the one that's already kind of put himself in a bad position. He's already laning without summoners, so it's going to be very hard to evaluate standard laning ability of Double Red in a game where he didn't have summoners from level 1. You can't draw too much potentially from this game, but I'm really excited to see more of this player making a role transition. So a bit of his history was on Flash Husky, which is the B team of the Flash, was playing on a lower level of the LMS as a jungler, known as an aggressive jungler, now coming in as AD carry. And aggression and AD carries doesn't always work out as a marriage of temperament, but known as a Lucian player. That was basically the scouting report I got, is that when he did play AD carry in solo queue, favored the Lucian. Here he's on Varus, a new age pick, so clearly has been practicing some of the new meta picks. We are seeing more and more players flex the Varus to AD carry. I have to say, though, the playstyle here is going to be pretty predictable. You get your tier, you build as much AD as possible, you wave clear. It's going to be about safety and positioning from Double Red.
No, don't want to be on camera? That's respectable.
Yeah, that's all right. But look at that. We got our game up and running, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get right back in. 4 minutes about to be on the clock. Double Red Flash nearly coming up.
Okay, so the thing that I'm really interested about moving forward is going to be the Varus pick, although I may have to be more interested.
Oh, Sword Art. It's going to take a hefty chunk of damage there.
All right, focusing back in on Varus, one of the big things about it is Jin has such a smooth build path in this patch. Such a nice, easy path to build through. Varus is not quite the case. He can go for a Youmuu's, he can follow a similar path, but he's very, very mana reliant. And so if you go for the tier, similar to Ezreal, you're innately setting yourself up to fall behind. While Varus does have insanely high base damages to balance that out to a certain degree, Jin just feels like a better pick moving into the mid game. And with Double Red already set up not to take control of this lane with that early summoner spell usage, it just feels like this pick it is set up to be underwhelming. Now, of course, it's not a pick we see a lot of. There's a lot of creative potential here, something that Longzhu may not be ready for, but I do not like the Varus pick into the Jhin. Jhin just feels like the superior version.
But wait, what do you take against Jhin is kind of the question. They probably would have had to first pick Jhin, so they didn't really have the flexibility. See Elise here, Chaser.
Yeah, Maple in a bad spot. Gonna actually be running forward, trying to juke out the potential Cocoon coming out. It looks like he's gonna flash the wall. Chaser is going to pursue, but Karsa's here to back him up. So a little over-aggressive by Chaser, and suddenly not gonna have that flash. So it's good on Karsa to be there to support his mid laner.
Yeah, the synergy between Chaser and Frozen certainly wasn't on point there. The follow flash from Chaser, no interest from Frozen to either Ghost or look for anything. Ghost has that lower cooldown. If there was any aggressive mindset from Frozen, we would have seen the fight initiated with a Victor Ghost, but didn't go for it and ends up just kind of being a waste of a summoner there from Chaser.
Oh boy, now Expansion. He's in a bad spot. Karsa coming up here. They get the stun. Gets the stun into the wall. Expansion just trying to kite around, but I think he's going to go down for this first blood. Running down the river, but Frozen is not there to support him, and there it is. Karsa on the Nidalee, netting the first blood for the Flash Wolves.
Excellent start for the Flash Wolves. They already had the winning top lane matchup, and now it's going to be even easier with that assist and with the control in the lane. Karsa additionally getting a lead on this Nidalee. Yes, there were nerfs to the champion. It does not matter, though. If she gets ahead, she is still as much of a terror as she has been in the past. So excellent starting plays coming in here, and Chaser getting over aggressive, but it's Karsa who's the patient one, and with a successful gank on the top side.
And when there's so much similarity in terms of playstyle between the two teams, the jungler that gets ahead early can certainly snowball matchups, and Chaser, having lost the flash, makes it a lot difficult for him to match in other lanes. So big early win for the Flash Wolves, but certainly not going to call this one early. This is one that really you have to wait for a couple of inhibitors to go down to really be able to anoint or even pencil in a potential winner.
Absolutely. Even then, who knows?
But looking at the early game decision making, I'm a little disappointed from Longzhu, and especially from Chaser. We can talk about how they weren't on the same page, Chaser and Frozen, but at the end of the day, it was Chaser who overextended with the flash. Already getting both of Orianna's summoners means a flash Cocoon would have been a free kill in the mid lane if he had just been patient and found an opportunity for a return gank. Maybe not 100% guaranteed, but very easy to execute option. Instead, he gets aggressive, and he goes for something that is, once again, high risk, low reward overall.
Yeah. See Fury trying to land that deadly flourish, not really going to happen. But bottom lane, pretty much just going to be a farm fest as Double Red tries to catch back up. Fury has extended a nice little lead on this Jhin so far. Opted in to go for the Boots of Swiftness very early as opposed to something like the Serrated Dirk, which is very common. So just wants to have that mobility.
So you get the freedom to build items like Swiftness Boots first when you're against a Varus. Varus will always go for tier first, needs to stack it up. Mana pool allows Varus to get those high base damages to wave clear, so he's not actually losing anything. And having Boots of Swiftness to be able to outrun specifically Zyra and her suite of initiation, potentially with the Grasping Roots and even the Strangle Thorns, is very important in this laning phase. And coming back to something you mentioned, Sifa, specifically about the Varus into the Jhin, the one thing you can say is that Varus is so safe, can wave clear off the screen, that it's more about safety, because with Ashe off the board, there aren't really many viable picks to take into Jhin, and we have to wonder how big the champion pool is for Double Red, given that he is very recently moving over to AD carry. So comfort and safety are what you crave for the Varus.
Oh boy, that's going to be ultimate thrown out there. Gets a lot of damage in on the Pure, almost takes him out, but now the curtain call from Fury. This is the first two, finds a third and a fourth, but Double Red still quite healthy, and Chaser isn't going to be able to get much done, so it looks like they will be able to back off, and they get the heal out of the AD carry of Longzhu.
He actually healed very early. That's why it looked like there was no damage whatsoever coming out from the last Fury shot. So once again, a summoner down. Has flashed now, though, so...
Yeah. And of course, good to stay at higher health. Do not want to get at that execution percentage, or any lower you get, the more damage you're going to take. Heals up, ensures that he's not going to take anything greater, allows him to stay in lane and continue to apply pressure, but it's Karsa now who we have to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, he's got the red buff, so he can slow him up. He's going to throw in that one auto attack. Knows that Chaser is still probably somewhere nearby, so they're going to start peeling back. Just get a little bit of damage in onto the turret, but overall, Flash Wolf's not going to gain much ground.
It just so happened that Victor was walking over for the blue buff transfer, so he was going to be first to a rotation. Smart of them to back away. No future kills coming out for the Flash Wolves, but laning phase will continue, and Karsa continues his invading.
Yep, standing on a ward, though, so they'll see both Karsa and Maple, and of course the Wolf Spirit there to back him up. We'll be having that pretty soon in competitive play anymore.
And Longzhu, of course, just do not have the resources to stop this push from happening. They're not going to be able to clear it out entirely at this stage without another wave to back them up, but they do not have any more members of their team to help defend. And the Zyra wave clear wall, pretty reasonable with the plants, is just not enough to stop a ton of damage going onto this turret. It looks like Flash Wolves might just straight up go for first brick here, despite the fact that it's a little bit of a risky move.
They're going to have it. There's no one really nearby. Chaser's up in the river. They're going to throw down the Stranglelords. Not going to be able to get the knockup, but it doesn't matter. Karsa still walks away with a second kill, taking down Pure.
And Chaser just not providing any pressure on the bot side after that earlier botched gank. Goes to the top side of the map, had actually recalled subsequently, and there was just no one there to relieve pressure for the bot lane. They're going to even lose further minion waves. They can't enter lane here, Longzhu. Fury's already backed, so Longzhu, macro-wise, really passing advantage after advantage over to Flash Wolves.
And between first brick and 2 kills, this is a brutal deficit to be at in the early game. This is going to extend to about 2 or almost 3K very early on, only 10 minutes in. On top of that, Double Red's ult comes up again. So if they want to return to bot lane, or if Double Red wants to go top, they have excellent setup to take another tower. Poppy is not going to be safe up there. So Flash Wolves absolutely in control of this game, and Chaser just making moves here, building aggressively, but not getting anything out of it.
And we gloss over the fact that Double Red got solo first pick, 650 gold. The bounty from that went back, bought a serrated Dirk, isn't even rushing towards finishing his tier into the Mana Moons. Are going to be a big trading advantage here to match what Fury was putting together. So that big hump, you know, the 700 plus gold you spend on tier is now answered by the first brick, and he's actually able to match combat stats with Fury.
Yeah, I mean, all said and done, getting that assist in plus that first brick, he's going to be up about 400 gold. So he's going to be in a pretty comfortable spot despite being in that CS disadvantage still. So good turnaround from Flash Wolves, getting those 2 kills on the board. Now they're up 2,000 gold just 11 minutes into this game.
Interesting here too, because with the pressure on the bottom side, Flash Wolves had the opportunity to rotate their bot lane to the top side, force a turret, and accelerate the pace of the game, but they resend their bottom lane down. They look to contest here, and it looks like they are very content extending this laning phase, maybe looking to keep control of the Mountain Drake, but overall, maybe a less aggressive decision from this team, and one that could potentially be very beneficial, because Gnar having no problem against the Poppy, and the laning phase extending, very good for the Orianna, who really wants to hit some of those late game item breakpoints.
But it does feel like Orianna is kind of on a different page to the rest of the team. Consider the rest of the lineup is much more suited to the siege, to the poke war. Orianna can provide some utility in terms of speed up and shields for safety to go for that poke, but Flash Wolves' objectives is to take down the outer ring of turrets as early as possible and start prepping vision for Drakes, for the Barons. So Flash Wolves want to keep their foot in the accelerator. And
oh boy, straight into the transformation. The stun not going to hit from the wall. MMD does get a lot of damage down onto Expression, and he burns the flash. So that's still going to be a nice pickup for him. Chaser arriving yet again just a little bit too late to try to turn that fight around.
And I really like that. Karsa, of course, there to back him up. Poppy spots Karsa out, knows that he cannot turn to fight the Gnar, that he cannot turn to make that a more even trade, and just has to take the brunt of all of that damage. Will most likely have to burn the TP here onto the top side of the map, or he can save it and give up so much life on the tower. But either way, Flash Wolves, clear advantage there on that top play.
A pathing advantage for Karsa. He's been first to every lane. Chaser's been second. Hasn't been able to get anything done, and Nidalee does, of course, have this speed, the ability to pounce between camps, always has an innate advantage there, but it's been pathing and also the champion pick that has allowed Karsa to open up a big lead over his opposite number, and what was one of the featured matchups in this game.
Absolutely, and of course the big question mark was, why are we not seeing the Olaf priority? Why are we seeing the Nidalee priority? Of course, Karsa, an insane Nidalee player, a similar story for Chaser, but given the current state of the meta, given the past games that we've seen, we expect Olaf to be higher priority, but we're seeing now why Nidalee can be such a strong powerhouse, because once again, she gets a lead similar to Olaf, can just start to take over a game.
To me, the Elise is taken here because if you ever get a lead in the early game in any of these lanes, there's set up CC to allow potential kills. You know, both Poppy, Jhin, and even in the mid lane with the Victor, it feels like the 2v2 skirmish can be powerful. Speaking of 2v2, it's going to be a bit more than that here.
Yeah, that's going to be the curtain call coming out to get a lot of shots in on the double red, trying to slow him up. Fourth shot connects, as does the Cocoon, and that is one dead Varus. Expression charging in to get the killing blow, and Longzhu finally put one on the board.
And right as you mentioned it, Papa Smee, the chain CC comes in perfect onto double red to make sure they get that kill. Not even an opportunity to flash there before. It would have just been death anyway.
And this is the same thing that Expression was doing yesterday. Consider MMD teleports the top lane as Chaser and Karsa.
Yeah, he's going to go in, takes a lot of damage. The root coming through. Mantra Q as well to chunk out the Nidalee. They're going to have to back off.
And this is something I never thought I would say, but Expression has been the best teleport user at this tournament, known for playing in his own lane, known for being a split pusher. He has come to this tournament and frequently he has seen an enemy top laner teleport back to top lane just to, you know, buy items and continue laning, and Expression has sacked lane, gone somewhere else on the map and made things happen. And it's great to see his map rotational play actually start to take his play to the next level.
And while that was a solid pickup, it does continue to extend the lead that MMD has built for himself on the top side, 132 to 107. The Frozen Mallet coming in as well, so it only gets harder for Expression to be comfortable in this laning phase. But if he can keep making these teleport plays, there's pretty big opportunity for Longzhu to come back. If they can force a team fight, if they can chain that CC and start a fight with a man advantage, it could be very good for them, especially as Victor starts to complete his Hex Core upgrades and we start to look towards what I assume will be a Rylai's next.
You can see MMD going to be building up that Narvar, has the ultimate up yet again, and Karsa is waiting in the wings. Hopping forward, nice interruption though. Charging up the Poppycopter, will he be able to hit him? Nope, he's gonna go wide, now they go straight hit underneath the turret. Starstun into the wall, Expression pushes him back out away from the tower, actually doing him a favor before he dies. And that's just gonna be the third kill picked up for the Flash Wolves.
All of us waiting with bated breath, expecting at least one of those skill shots to miss, for Poppy to walk away to safety, but everything connects for the Flash Wolves. Make sure that they're gonna grab not only the kill, but the topside tower. 4K gold lead at 15 minutes, and as excited as we wanna be about this, this is what we said at the start of the game. Can they close? Can they continue to extend this gold lead? Will it be clean, or are we gonna see Flash Wolves get a nice gold lead, look nice and pretty in the mid game, and then just fall apart when it comes to making those critical decisions?
Yeah, and I mean, if Papa, if your prediction is correct, then Flash Wolves might just be walking away with this series. Whether or not it's in 2 games or 3, I don't know, but Flash Wolves are looking quite strong, and honestly, Double Red got killed in the bottom. Longzhu had to commit a lot to pick up that kill. Doesn't seem like he's going to be much of a liability for the squad so far.
The composition is coming together for Flash Wolves. Next part of the puzzle is to take that mid outer turret, have all 3 down, and then really start to monopolize some of these objectives like the Drakes. No one has visited the Drake yet at 16 minutes. But now Longzhu able to keep control of the game, but the pace will really change if they can find a way to brute force Victor's turret.
And that one's going to be a bit tough.
Yeah, definitely not. One of the perks, of course, of picking Victor is that even if the early game does go poorly, as long as your Victor is not in a massive deficit, he's always going to be that wave clear bot, that secondary option, just to stall the game as they move forward. But when we look at the late game, I feel like Jhin is going to outscale the Varus. Gnar, of course, a very big threat to tanks as we move further in the game, but Victor, Jhin, such a strong core.
And the side of Flash Wolves much more suited to that siege than the 5v5 team fight.
Oh boy, I have this one coming through again. MMD gets the transformation, hits him with a wallop, pushes him back, and might just find the solo kill. MMD has to be careful though, he's fighting in the minion wave, but here comes Maple, zipping his way up from mid. Flash away by Expression, tries to get the stun, actually is able to get it. Nicely done by Expression to turn that one around, but Maple gets the killing blow.
But this will be a big win. Look in the bot side. Finally, the wave has crashed at bot, and they're going to get a turret for this here, Longzhu. So because they had to commit 2 members and only go 1 for 1, big win for Longzhu across the map.
Exactly where they wanted to be, starting to make moves to come back. And of course, with the bot lane tower going down, the gold lead's going to continue to shrink. And this gold lead, while very sizable for this stage of the game, if they can keep on this pace, it's not going to be a big deal. And Double Red maybe biting off a little more than he can chew. Yeah,
throwing out the ultimate, not going to connect on the Frozen. Takes a good burst of damage from that Chaos Storm, but overall he's going to be all right. Retreats back to the mid lane.
And while I like what Flash Wolves is doing, consider that they're doing this in a risky fashion. They're not really pushing up at a lot of walls. They do have a nice pink wall down. I do tell a lie. They have actually done some pretty good job of making this push safe. But Longzhu are just staying at the bottom. It will be a bit of an overstay though if they try to go for this turret.
Yeah, Chaser taking a couple turret shots. MMD going to get that speed up from the Hyper. Cocoon not going to land, but it doesn't matter. They're just going to let Chaser walk out with his life, but they got his flash.
And it's really big that they don't take down this inner turret because it's not realistic to actually path back to such a advanced part of Flash Wolves' bot lane in the next 3 or 4 minutes. That's a lot of standing gold they could have picked up. That's going to be very hard for them to actually take for at least the next 10 minutes of the game.
And I really like that play coming out in the end. I wish Longzhu had been able to get that bottom tier tower, because getting the bottom tier, setting up that pressure on the bottom side makes it much easier to control vision around the Baron pit. Of course, it's only 18 minutes, but as we approach the 20-minute mark, especially if one of these teams wants to get a Mountain Drake, and especially with the Zyra present on one team, you do have to respect the potential for early Baron takes. And without that tier falling, it just feels like Longzhu, it looks so good for them to start, but once again, the trade works against them.
Well, looks like we have another pause coming out. We'll see what the issue is. Try to get back into this game. So far, 4-2 on the board, just 19 minutes in. Haven't had a lot of kills, but we've had a lot of skirmishes coming out, especially around that top lane. MMD definitely feeling comfortable on this Gnar.
We're building towards a crescendo, no sooner in the game, but regardless, building towards a crescendo that we just haven't seen. This has been basically what you'd expect given the comps. Flash Wolves have been having the slight advantage in taking turrets. They want to keep the pressure high. They want to keep pushing forward, trying to get the siege going. But they haven't really been able to group as 5. And while they're taking these easy objectives, the Flash Wolves at Worlds, they just struggle to take the difficult objectives, the inhibitor turrets, the inhibitors, actually find a way to take Barons and close games. And we just haven't got a window into that, so I'm still very reticent to give a full opinion about the Flash Wolves until we see a Nexus explode on the other side.
So interesting, too, as we move forward in the game. I was skeptical when they didn't accelerate the pace in the early stages, but now that they've done it, now the question, as you mentioned, is can Flash Wolves make dirty calls? Can they take risky plays? Because they can make clean calls. They can take free objectives. They can manipulate those resources in that sense, but can they take the fights where they're going to lose a couple members but come out on top in the end? And as we get closer to Baron, that's going to be the huge central focus for both these teams because you know, whatever you can say about Chaser, he still has amazing potential to steal. One of the few perks of not picking the Olaf, of course, is that, you know, you're not, your natural enemy isn't a wall. You can get over that pit, you can steal the Baron, you can contest, and if Flash Wolves hesitate, it's going to set up Longzhu for easy ways to come back into this game. But at this stage, I think it's very clearly in Flash Wolves' control. I'm excited to see that Karsa is still performing well because he had some rough games on the world stage, and his good pathing in this early game and confidence in his decision-making was pretty key in building this lead.
Yeah, I mean, having this 4,000 lead already, you know, pre-20 minutes for the Flash Wolves is pretty strong. Going up against an opponent like Longzhu because they're so good at the early game. So outclassing them in that regard is a really good sign for the Flash Wolves. But again, the biggest thing is that they have to be able to close out. If they cannot do that, then eventually they'll just bleed themselves dry and Longzhu will get, you know, one opportunity to come back in. And if they take it, then they might just be walking, you know, their way into the final.
I like the phrase you use, Sifa, the dirty calls. It's not about 50-50 Barons. It's just at Worlds, Flash Wolves weren't making 50-50 Barons, but at some point it looked 60-40, it looked 70-30, and they were still not willing to commit to going for something without perfect vision, without perfect setups. And I think the best teams in the world, they make the educated calls. They take that prisoner dilemma and they go for the high risk, the medium risk, high reward plays that can really change the course of a series. We've seen so many 20-minute SKT Barons back in the day, big power plays in the 20 to 25-minute phase, and 20 to 30 minutes is where the Flash Wolves really lost their luster at Worlds. So that's why we're starting to creep towards that 20-minute phase. So far, it's so good for the Flash Wolves, but you could say that for 4 or 5 out of their 6 games at Worlds, and they didn't put many victories after that first 20 minutes.
And it's interesting, too, because they are the team that, you know, that kind of brought this label upon themselves with the combination of aggression from the LPL, of the very macro-oriented mindset of the region of Korea, right? But where's the LPL aggression, right? Where is that name that they've applied for themselves? Because they're playing so safe, and it's not even, at a certain point, it's not even tactical. It's illogical to play that safe. You have a lead, you win a fight, just pull the trigger. Just go for a fight, make an aggressive decision. I mean, the only way it goes south is if your members fail to execute, and you really need to have faith in your ability to play as a team. And, you know, if we don't see that in game 1, I don't think we're going to see it throughout the series at all.
Yeah, well, so far, looks like MMD and Karsa at least have been willing to be aggressive up in that top side of the map, giving Expression some hell. Already has 3 deaths, 3 out of the 4 that Longzhu has suffered. Looks like we're just going to be doing a slight test. Looks like we might be ready to get back into the game. And here we go. So 19 minutes on the clock. Flash Wolves currently in the lead, about 4,000 gold.
And of course,
Maple and Sword are just hovering in the mid lane.
100% kill participation for Expression as well, 75% death participation. So definitely a polarizing player, making things happen. Maybe not always in favor of Longzhu, sadly, but as we move out of the laning phase, if Chaser can get a pick here.
Oh yeah, Karsa gets rooted out by the Cocoon and the Deadly Flourish, and he gets taken out. Fury finding a kill. Shockwave does connect. A little bit missed time to get Chaser though, but it doesn't matter. Pure, he still is quite squishy on that Karma. He's gonna get taken down. Maple finds a kill. Nice flash over into the Dragon Pit, but it's kind of just delaying his own death. Flash forward by Fury, really wants to get the killing blow, but Frozen's gonna take it anyway. Maple pretty much dead to rights at that point. And Longzhu say, oh look, a Mountain Drake.
And solid playmaking from Longzhu, aggressive there. They get the man advantage, they continue to take the fight. Maple already does an insane amount of damage, but it's simply not enough. Takes the risky flash, the fight turns against him. The Mountain Drake drops, but meanwhile, Gnar is on the top side. Double Red is in the mid lane, and while they did get the dragon, they may lose more in exchange.
Yeah, I mean, their tier 2 is gone.
It actually got a little bit of damage onto the inhibitor turret, which will regen, but MMD didn't find a path into the fight, especially didn't have to use his teleport, wasn't involved either. But it's a slight win from Longzhu. You can see what this comp can do when it's operating under good conditions. The long-range engage of the Cocoon into the Deadly Flourish was enough to pick up a couple kills there for Longzhu, and that is also the turret, inner turret down bot, crashing down as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's really good CC chaining that you can put down there. You have the Cocoon, you have the Stun from the Poppy, the Gravity Field, as well as the Deadly Flourish, and then the Tether from the Karma. So there's a lot that Longzhu can use, and you saw it right there in practice, just picking off Karsa, and then Maple was pretty much a surefire pickup as well right after that.
Of course, as we move forward with the Black Cleaver finished on Gnar, it's going to get harder and harder for Poppy to sit comfortably in that lane. Not that she's not already cowering under that.
She's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. But we can take a look at this one again, and the perfect chain CC that comes in here is excellent. And on top of that, Karsa, one of the few vulnerabilities of Nidalee is if you ever tank any of that CC, you're pretty much dead to rights. Now, the use of the ultimates here, I think a little over-aggressive. Yes, Maple does grab the kill, but the most he's setting up for there is a one-for-one trade. He's not setting up for a one-team fight and doesn't respect the potential, I think, for the rest of Longzhu to be waiting in the wings.
Well, I mean, it was a bit of a missed timing as well. He wanted to catch Chaser coming down from the rappel, maybe get a double kill in that regard, but he wasn't able to find it. Looks like we have just another pause as we go back in. Trying to take care of this one. Looks like Longzhu just having some issues on their side of the stage. So we'll just be confirming with them what the problem is and taking care of it.
And I have the advantage of having the mini-map on my screen, but what I'm starting to see now around 21 minutes is the team with the Nidalee, the team with the Varus, the team that is set up to siege, has lost all semblance of vision on the red side jungle, on the side of Longzhu. And this was, again, the sort of situation that we saw back at Worlds. They very much struggled to dot their I's and cross the T's, set up vision so they're able to go for the siege that the comp is built around. And it might just be because we saw some fighting, but it's the sort of trend that I hope not to see from the Flash Wolves, because it is the sort of thing that slowed down the pace of their games back at World.
And it's interesting what the vision that they do have set up indicates. They have a little bit of vision around the pit, a little bit of vision around the mid lane, setting up so that Varus can continue to pressure, so that Orianna can go to a side lane, so that Gnar can stay in a side lane. But they have vision on the top side, behind the Poppy, looking potentially for a flank onto the Poppy, looking potentially for a pick, but not really setting themselves up to take Baron, to take control of the top side jungle, which is where I think they need to be looking to apply the pressure. They have immense team fight power. If Longzhu ever try to contest, if they ever try to face check, while they don't have the insane chain CC that Longzhu do for picks, you can just use one of those ultimates to make a pick, get a one-for-one trade. If you take a jungler or a major carry off the map, it's such an easy transition to Baron. It's really, I would say it's very questionable from Flash Wolves. Of course, they did just reset the map. They have the potential to change where their vision is placed. Poppy can now push on the top side, can restore the pressure there and give them a free access to put down that vision. But if they don't do it, it seems like lackluster decision making.
And some of their setups here are actually pretty intricate. One thing to consider is when they flex the Varus to bot, Varus, after those turrets go down, wants to be in mid lane wave clearing. It's effectively mid Varus at that point when you have some AD and some mana. But when you draft Orianna, Orianna's also a champion that doesn't do well in side lanes, even with Ghost Flash. It's not the Vladimir that was well in the meta back during World's time. It's not a Kassadin that can take teleport and affect other lanes. It feels like they're kind of stuck with both of these immobile wave clear champions. Only one of them can go to mid. The other one's not flourishing in a side lane, so it's much more important for them to group as 2, as 3, as 4, go on aggressive warding missions and play as a team, because otherwise they're just going to bleed gold, because one of Orianna and Varus is going to be caught without a safe lane to farm it.
Of course, I want to look forward and see exactly how Flash Wolves are going to play this out in terms of looking for team fights or continuing to split push. Because as you said, they don't have a solid split pusher. Of course, Longzhu doesn't really have anyone great to match them, but Longzhu is much better set up for team fights. They have the Victor, they have this instant AoE damage. Of course, Orianna has a similar presence, but Longzhu is better prepared for those situations, whereas Gnar with the split push build, the Black Cleaver, the Frozen Mallet, that's a lot of health, yes, but it's very easy for him to get deleted if he gets caught out, especially in that mini Gnar. And I'm just wondering, Flash Wolves, what is your plan? What is your strategy? Are you going to play around Baron? And luckily, we are going to be moving back into game here, and we'll get to find out. But it's going to be the next couple minutes going to be very crucial for Flash Wolves to close this one out.
Yeah, seems like Karsa was having some connectivity issues, but we got him back into the game. And we will see what his next move is going to be. Already, just got caught out, suffered his first death. Doesn't want that to happen again. Really have a hard-fought battle over that ward brush. All in all, Flash Wolves will come out on top. It's not going to gain them a whole lot at this point. 22 minutes, very early for either of these teams to even think about going to Baron.
I think to take away as a viewer is the longer the game goes, on balance, you know, Orianna accepted, things look better and better for Longzhu. The late game seems to favor them in terms of composition. So all you can say is if we just keep trading farm, things are pretty happy for Longzhu.
Oh boy, Maple taking these curtain call shots. Last one isn't going to land. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Karsa finding a kill on a Frozen, who is clearing out the waves but pushed way too far forward. Doesn't have that tier 2 turret. Gets caught all on his lonesome by 3 members, and he goes down.
And if Flash Wolves don't commit to going towards this inhibitor turret, of course, it's a very difficult objective to rush down. Longzhu may get a free mid lane turret. As I say that, they all back away. No free objectives, just a single kill over to Flash Wolves.
Yeah, had to be worried about that collapse coming down from Flash Wolves.
Yeah, good use of the Defiance from Pure to make sure the team could get out in that situation. Have to be careful here, have to respect it. But Flash Wolves, as a result, now should be able to take down this mid lane turret. There's not a lot of wave killer left, and with Karsa throwing spears and hitting spears over the side of that wall, it's going to be very difficult. But MMD going in.
Yeah, using the last second of his Mega Gnar to get that stun into the wall, but now might have bitten off more than he can chew, trying to kite back and use that boomerang to slow up as much as he can. But Chaser and Expression are both hot on his heels. The flash for the Cocoon, not gonna land, but Expression is cutting him off on the other side. It's gonna take some fancy footwork from MMD if he's gonna make it out of Pure. We'll have to check back in with him. Looks like he's getting pinched down, but the turret does fall. Chaser and Expression both gonna come in. One hit there. It's gonna be the Cocoon to lock him up, and it was gonna be the solo kill in the end, going over to the Elise.
It's a heavy price to play. They actually lose the mid lane outer turret, which they've been so good at defending for the first 20 minutes of the game. Will this be enough for that aggressive vision to come in for Flash Wolves, for the Baron setups to start for Flash Wolves? Because finally, the outer ring of turrets has been pierced.
Now Longzhu now pushing down the mid lane despite Flash Wolves, you know, they have this 20-second window where Flash Wolves do not have 5 members. They can look to force something more aggressive, but Longzhu not getting aggressive here. I think this is Longzhu's opportunity to get some of that vision back. And Flash Wolves, yes, the towers are now broken down. They have actually great vision in the jungle, but is this when they're going to start baiting the Barons? The blue trinkets are out for the side of Longzhu. Then with both down, this is the perfect setup opportunity. They have Nidalee. They have the ability to rip this Baron, especially with the Blight stacks from Varus. But I don't know if they're going to take it here.
But I do like the Longzhu read the situation quite well. And the reason why I can say that, they went back and every single member bought a pink ward to help in the battle to actually get permanent vision around the Baron. When you have outer turrets around, your minions will go further up in the lane to provide vision.
Chaser walking right back into that spear, but now they can turn this one around yet again. Karsa is going to go down, doesn't get the kill onto the Elise, makes it into that repel in the last second. The Chaos Storm coming down onto Maple. The Gravity Well as well is on the ground, but it doesn't even matter. Expression is able to finish him off in time, and that is going to be 2 massive pickups for Longzhu, and they might finally take out this tier 1 turret.
And Karsa the only one to pull the trigger in the end, and now Longzhu should easily be able to push up the mid lane. They may go for 2 towers, they may go for more. They have the opportunity to try to set up for Baron, but Expression wants more.
Yeah, and MMD is exhausted, can't make it into that Mega Gnar. Now gets locked up. The Cocoon straight into the gravity field, popped up in the air by the Keeper's Verdict, and he is gonna go down. The 3rd kill for Longzhu in this extended fight, grabbed up by Expression, who has still just been the most consistent one on this team now, 4-3-1 on the Poppy.
Now, even though he took a couple of deaths early in the game, he's been able to match CS with a Gnar in a very difficult matchup. He picked up some trade kills, and the benefit of those trade kills is matching tank items with the Gnar. He's able to now shrug off the damage from the side of Flash Wolves and Expression. He's a wall that for now Flash Wolves haven't found a way through.
Yeah, he's 50% of the kills and 50% of the deaths at the moment. Well, a little bit over 50% after you count his assists, but for killing blows, he's got a pretty nice little stat there. But Flash Wolf still going to be at about a 3,000 gold lead. They're shrinking very slightly. Longzhu just need a couple more objectives. If they can transition these kills into more turrets, they will be in a lead.
And good positioning to start off that kill. All of Longzhu grouped together, ready to punish any over-aggressive moves as Chaser goes in to drop vision. But Karsa, what are you thinking? You do not have vision on that side of the jungle. They have taken that away from you. You've seen people place wards and kill your wards. You know that Longzhu are present there, and he's so desperate, so hungry for a pick that could guarantee Baron that he's getting stupid. He's making poor calls, and he needs to be more patient here, where Longzhu are going to be right back into this game.
Yep.
You just have to read that point in the game as Nidalee, where suddenly Cougar form is more of a cost than a benefit. Suddenly you are a squishy mage getting into melee range of a lot of damage on the other side, and that time clearly has come to pass.
Terrifying.
Made even worse with your 1 second increased cooldowns. Not the heaviest of heaviest hitting of nerfs, but It's got its relevance here and there, but we can see.
I would say the melee range is the bigger factor, but if you want to say the 1 second difference
It's
there,
definitely the
all
1
the power
second difference.
to you.
No. But Frozen up top takes out that tier 1 turret, so Longzhu as well, shattering the tier 1 ranks of the towers. Flash Wolves trying to get some damage in onto this tier 2 in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, in mid, Curtain Call being used, looks like just to clear out some minions as Double Red and Sword Art were able to make it out of that range.
Victor splitting on the top side. This is, yes, going to probably end in the favor of Flash Wolves, but overall just not a very clean play. Trading objectives, this is essentially meaningless.
He's gotten 2 turrets for himself.
Given the texture of the game, Longzhu shouldn't be trading objectives. It's not like Victor has Lich Bane that isn't a build that Faker often opts into on the Victor, so very, very strange to see, but I guess not a surprise. We have to remember, this is the 8th place Korean team against a team that has struggled to close out games, at least recently in the Flash Wolves. So some of the macro play, bit of a head scratcher.
Yep, well, the Keeper's Verdict not going to hit anybody, and Flash Wolves will net themselves the last tier 2 turret standing for Longzhu. So they will still maintain that gold lead at about 3,000, but it's not getting any larger as time goes on. Looks like they might just pick up their first dragon here with the Cloud Drake.
Longzhu can absolutely try to rush this Baron. There are 2 members on the bottom side. They're taking down Cloud Drake. The second that Cloud Drake drops, they have absolute authority to move into the jungle and to place deeper vision. They may not take the Baron, but they are guaranteed now control of the top side.
Well, those pink wards they picked up on that back about 2 minutes ago before they won a skirmish means they've had exclusive vision around the Baron. The moment that's established for more than a couple of seconds, you know Flash Wolves have to come, and within a build, an item build like Chaser has, they have a lot of pick power on the side of Longzhu.
And they're going to have a base race. Yeah, with Longzhu just shoving down the top lane, already melting out the turret. Flash Wolves not as quick to the punch. They're going to lose the inhibitor. Flash Wolves, they have to commit. They have to at least get this. But no, actually, they're just going to continue Longzhu. They're just going for the Nexus. Shockwave comes out. Takes a bunch of damage onto Frozen. The turret barely lives. One more hit would have done it.
The difference here is
Longzhu want to commit to that.
They've traded evenly now, but there are members of Flash Wolves to stop the backs. Varus and the Nidalee have the power to keep this rolling. If someone can cancel that TP, they can keep the ball going.
Expression safe, he's in the jungle. Looks like he will be able to finish the channel, but Flash Wolves still come out on top because they're able to take out the Nexus turret, and they get the inhibitor down in the shorter lane.
Insane that Flash was able to trade up in that scenario. By the end, the attack speed steroid coming out of the Nidalee was very important. The Varus has plenty of flat damage. Longzhu did not persist, did not take that inhibitor turret when they saw the Orianna recall, and somehow they contrived to lose out on that trade.
Longzhu is split. Victor showed on the bottom side. Flash Wolves are going to start the Baron. They're going to make that aggressive call, that risky call. Chaser is up and alive, and this Baron could decide who wins the game.
This is going to be really risky by Flash Wolves. Baron not even at 50% HP yet. Expression is almost there. It's dropping lower and lower. The curtain call going to open up for Fury, and Flash Wolves, they have to peel back. Chaser coming over the wall. Throws out the Cocoon. Not going to be able to find a target. They get the ultimate from the Varus in onto Frozen, so that should stop the push by Longzhu. So Flash Wolves get a really risky play. They have to peel back.
Super Minion Wave pushing in the mid lane. Longzhu cannot afford to tally, and they are immediately going to start on the Baron. This is an aggressive call. Flash Wolves are not going to let it happen.
Yeah, Flash Wolves pushing back in, have most of their ultimates up. Expression has to flash away from the Shockwave, doesn't want to get caught off. He has to be there to be the front line for this squad. And now Flash Wolves, after junking out Longzhu, they're going to go right back onto this Baron, but look at the minions pouring into the base. They're going to destroy that low Nexus tower and maybe even more.
Yeah, Longzhu are caught between 2 bad decisions. They do not want to back off from the Baron, but they need to wave clear in the mid lane.
Oh, MMD.
Snare from Fury. MMD tried to TP out. He snared him. He made sure he could not get in there and get that backdoor play. Longzhu are playing with fire. They are playing aggressively, but so far they have not lost out.
This is a win-win for them. If Flash Wolves goes back to defend the base, the Nexus tower now going down, then Longzhu gets the Baron. Otherwise, they just let the minions destroy it. Flash Wolves have to commit. The Chaos Storm coming down, Sword Art going low, has to flash away. Expression getting popped up, goes low. The Shockwave not yet available for Maple. They have to try to get the Steel Card. Can he get it? No, he does not. Chaser is able to pick up the Baron, and that's going to be the Nidalee going down. Deadly Flourish not going to find a target for the root. Fury takes a hell of a lot of damage to the face. Just sitting in the back of the pit, has that Baron empowered recall. Looks like he might be able to make it out. And we're actually going to have a pause.
League of Legends.
Oh,
okay,
dear.
Okay. Taking stock of what you guys just witnessed, Maple and Double Red are out of mana. If Longzhu want to go forward and push for a fight, despite the fact that they all have insanely low health bars, they are slightly favored due to the raw power that their abilities are going to give them, because Varus is an auto-attack bot, Orianna is an auto-attack bot. It's greedy, it might even be stupid, but it's a potential risk. However, even if they back off, they've lost both of their Nexus towers. This is not a good situation for them to be in, despite the Baron they managed to take.
But on a simple level, you might not believe this, but Longzhu made the right decision in rushing Baron even in the face of the enemy. And it's not because they have a compositional 5v5 advantage. It's just that if they back away to go on wave clear, Flash Wolves takes Baron and they don't have a chance. The only way for them to force something is to face tank Baron, take 5, 6, 7,000 worth of Baron damage across their members to actually have the choice, to actually have the game in their own hands. Because if they back away in this scenario with the super minions crashing onto their Nexus, they lose Baron 100% of the time. Super risky, they get the pick. We still haven't seen the complete fallout of this situation, but it feels like they would have been bled out if they made any other decision than brute forcing the Baron.
Yeah. And the second they committed to the initial attempt, they were set, as you said. They had to follow that course of action. They followed it well. To be fair, they took the risk. We'll have to see if it pays off as they move forward, what they can do with the buff now backing them up. But definitely not quite where Longzhu want to be. However, Flash Wolves have to play smart here. Baron's something they cannot discount, especially with a downed Nexus Tower and a down inhibitor of their own. Very much high stakes. We're 31 minutes in, but a single team fight will probably decide this game, assuming that minion control is a decent factor for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Nexus is completely exposed is really bad for both teams, especially for Flash Wolves, who have so many minions already just pushing into the base, just about to be attacking the Nexus. So they have to hightail it back. So despite the fact that there's all these juicy targets on Longzhu, I think that they have to kind of just let him go.
And you just have to wonder the impact of these frequent pauses on the players in specifically this scenario, where suddenly a lot has happened in the last 5 minutes. We're going to return to the game eventually in the course of a fight after Baron was taken with multiple exposed Nexuses and other very low Nexus turrets. There's a lot going on right now. It's very high pressure, and this game should be decided in the next 5 minutes of play the moment the game is restarted.
Getting closer. Looks like we may restart soon here. We'll keep you guys posted as we move forward. But in the meantime, I mean, we look at this game and it's very much balanced on the nice edge. It's very close. And you talked about the potential way that these pauses could affect a player, long pauses. It's something we saw in the EU LCS once or twice. And it's never what you want to see, right? But
yeah.
I got a chance to talk to Reckless after those long pauses. He says it takes you out of the game. It cuts your focus. And even for a veteran like him, it was an issue. So we look at Double Red, a young player. Yes, he does have experience in the challenger bracket. Yes, he is more experienced than a lot of rookies on a lot of younger teams. But definitely something that we have to be worried about. Like, is he going to be able to keep his composure moving forward? Because we know Fury on the opposite end, not going to man who's going to struggle with something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Karsa's already kind of like been wavering in this game even before the, after the first pause or so. So having this many might really start affecting him on this Nidalee play. You see right now he's the, the only one down on the side of Flash Wolves. The rest of them have to go back. I don't think they can really go in and try to get the kills on the members of Longzhu. So they're just in a really bad spot. And I think that this might affect them very, this might be very detrimental to them.
I mean, just the situation, to me, veteran status is what really pulls out in a situation like this. You have to feel for Double Red after the frequent pauses in a late game, first game playing AD carry competitively. There's so many different things to consider, and then he's just a young player as well. The veterans have been around. They've been in scenarios similar to this. They're able to shake off things like those tech delays, like being on an international stage. You start piling up all the things that are going to be affecting the mindset, and that's why it's going to be really, really clutch play that's going to decide the rest of this game.
Absolutely. Of course, a lot of pressure now onto the side of Longzhu to find those picks. We look at the way that these characters scale into the late game. I'm going to take a chance to look at the junglers. Elise, of course, mostly a Cocoon bot at this point, right? Has a decent amount of burst damage, given that she's opted for the Protobell. May look to continue that trend by going for the Rylai's as well. Karsa doesn't have the luxury of CC, can pick off people in the back line, but plays like that are so difficult to execute against a team who is grouped up. And his value to the team, I mean, he can check all the brushes, he can guarantee decent vision control with the traps, but I think a lot of onus now onto Chaser on the side of Longzhu to ensure that his team can come out ahead, because if he lands a critical Cocoon in a tense moment, similar to like Elisa and Insec, it can define games.
Yeah, at this point, Karsa basically takes as much damage as he dishes out, so he's got to really pick his battles intelligently, which is something that he's been struggling with in this game so far. See if he's able to do that once we get back in. For now, just still figuring out what the problem is, so we can resume this one and get game one out of the way.
You have to wonder what Unicorns of Love are making of watching this series. Of course, they are waiting to face the winner of this series in the final in a best-of-5 later on this evening. It's just been a really hard one to read, I think, just as analysts, just for the crowd as well, because of the pauses, because of the fact that there was some tempo for Flash Wolves earlier in the game, then it kind of went away. Longzhu made some good decisions, then made some very wayward ones. It's so hard to read, or so hard to find takeaways for Game 2 of this series, let alone for the Unicorns of Love waiting in the grand final on what came out of this game. Because apart from Double Red making, a rookie error very early in the game, it's been kind of up in the air.
All right, well, in the meantime, since we have this pause, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that Baron fight, that really extended one, and just try to make some sense out of this. So, Papa, you said that this was pretty much the right call from Longzhu.
Just because of that exposed inhibitor, it felt like they had to go for something. They couldn't back away from this particular scenario, so we're able to watch it. Longzhu commit. They're like, okay, we're in position now. We have ward control now, but if we back away, this game could quickly slip out of our fingers, and that's why they brute force Baron. They also have the benefit of, especially with 3 tank items, being able to tank the Baron without too much cost.
You can see as they move forward here too as well, they really look to set up some solid picks, but that right there, maybe you notice on the side of your screen, the use of the Aurea on ultimate on a single pick, very aggressive from Maple. On the one hand, I like that he's willing to use it so freely. He's not afraid to just set that up, but in the coming team fight, that not being there, not having access to that ultimate, changes the course of the fight.
And so much of this fight is about minion waves, the crucial interrupt by Fury to stop MMD from just taking down multiple turrets and potentially forcing the hand of Longzhu to have to go for a late recall was consequential. But this game is being played on where the minions are at on the map. At this point, Flash Wolves don't have a big minion wave pushing against them. They do have a big minion wave pushing in, though, and that's why Longzhu has to brute force the Baron.
And when we look back on this, it's really interesting how the cooldowns are used here. And you can see how quickly Longzhu moved for this. Chaser, if he is currently shot calling, clear, there's like, we're going, no questions asked. You can see a little hesitation there coming in from Fury and Pure. But at the end, it's a bold call, but I think it is the right one.
Yeah,
high risk, high reward kind of thing.
Yeah, and playing on that, at least, in that situation, at least Chaser knows that he has that execute on the Q. He has the smite, so it's easier to secure the Baron. But looks like the clock is ticking down. We should be getting back into the game momentarily. And it looks like both squads so far just going to be recalling back to base. Longzhu, of course, with that Baron-empowered recall, is going to help them get back to the Nexus and stop that from going down to those super.
All right, now remember, ladies and gentlemen, I know the pauses have been long. I know it's been an arduous game as a spectator, but remember that this is the game that is decided by one fight. Baron buff is backing up Longzhu. Flash Wolves have 2 Nexus tower downs and an open road down mid with no inhibitor to block them. Everything comes down to a single fight, a single engage. One mistake from either of these teams could end the game.
Yep, but this is where Longzhu goes on the offensive. They're going to be shoving down this mid lane, looking to utilize this Baron buff that they've netted for themselves. You can see big wave stacked up, cannon minion ready to go. They're just going to go pushing straight onto this turret. There's really not much that Flash Wolves can do. MMD already turning into the Mega Gnar is going to be exhausted, doesn't have the teleport as it got interrupted by Fury in that Baron fight. Has to recall and come join his squad so they can try to hold on to this inhibitor turret. They have a massive wave building up in the top lane that's going to be pushing against them. So this could be a really odd spot for Flash Wolves to be in.
But the Flash Wolves do have super minions in this lane they're pushing up, so it does match the Baron buff and the Banner of Command. Smite coming there onto the Banner of Command tank minion. So it's going to be a slow push, but Longzhu, they've got the playmakers. They've got the likes of the Poppy. No members ejected though, so I don't think this is going to be an inhibitor turret for Longzhu.
Yeah, just throwing out that ultimate, doesn't find anything, so Longzhu going to go ahead and at least peel back momentarily. They have to wait for more minions to come in. They have that wave starting to pressure. MMD going to go meet that one. Again, transforming into the Mega Gnar. So he will be exhausted yet again. Longzhu, they have to pick their fights around small cooldowns like that. Small things like the Gnar being able to transform. They're going to open up with a curtain call here. Trying to get some shots in. Fourth one, who's it going to be? Looks like MMD. No, it's going to go wide. Doesn't get a root off that deadly flourish. And Longzhu just not able to find an opening so they can get on top of that turret.
Often those scenarios, the ultimate being channeled by the Jhin is enough to be able to back away when you see the Poppy. But remember, Poppy had already used ult. There was not going to be any double tap Poppy knockup for them to respect. So with no future CC, they were able to stay strong, walk up, and not give away any free damage onto this outer mid lane turret here.
Yeah, it's also Sword Art utilizing that locket, making sure that they had that shield so that whoever did get hit up by those curtain call shots didn't take too much damage and they could hold on. So you can see Banner of Command yet again being used. They'll just take that one out, and Longzhu, Baron's going to be expiring soon, so
And of course,
gonna have to peel back.
it's a difficult position to be in for Longzhu because they have such a limited window of opportunity here. Not only is it limited due to the Baron buff, not only due to the empowered cannon creep as well, but also Frozen's mana bar had to go back and get blue, was low on mana. The nature of his Victor build is that, yes, he hits like a truck, but he only gets to hit a few times. But now Longzhu, they are going to get a decent consolation prize here, if not another inhibitor.
I mean, Longzhu have had the minion waves pushed out for so long, just no way for Flash Wolves to rotate and contest that Infernal. And yeah, 34 minutes in. Extra 8% stats, very consequential. Frozen's got a lazy death cap on top of the perfect hex score and the Rylai's, so damage there going to be pretty insane from the Victor.
I'm just happy we got an Infernal Drake. I don't think I've seen one so far at IEM when I'm casting.
You get really upset about the Drakes, man. You are very attached to having like some high-powered Drake games.
I just want to see a little diversity in the Drakes that spawn for me, okay? It's been Cloud and Ocean all day and then Mountains here and there. Infernal, I just wanted to pop up. Now I'm happy, all right? It's the small victories I can take away, Sifa.
All right, man, we'll give it to you. Moving forward, of course, Papa Smithy, as you mentioned, though, the scary point for Victor, too, is if we step further and further into the game, is that Lich Bane as well, because that is a massive burst of damage. If he could not solo kill anyone at this point, he will certainly be able to, with the Lich Bane, further essentially bonus scaling when you take into account the empowered auto on top of all the other raw damage that Victor brings to the table. So an excellent situation for Longzhu to be in terms of raw power. However, Flash Wolves, once again, they take a fight, they can take it down mid. It's not going to be too hard, especially with MMD having TP up and available.
All right, well, both of these inhibitors have respawned. MMD, he's going for the back door. He's going to try to take this one out. All of Longzhu is now in that top wave.
They need to hold clearly right here.
Yep, Flash Wolves. We'll see if MMD can get it. Expression running his way out. He has the TP. Chaser goes low, but now he's on to Maple. He's going to jump away, get through that gate as best as he can. The curtain call, firing a few more shots in. Karsa takes a little bit of damage, only 426, though. Not going to do a whole lot. Cocoon lands on the Karsa. He goes low. Gravity Field not going to catch him up, and that's going to be the inhib going down. But MMD, he's finished it. He's going to be going on to the Nexus. He only gets a couple shots in. Expression now running in, has that GA. He's going to try to slow him up, maybe for the rest of Longzhu to catch him, but
Expression needs to back off here. The second this becomes Mininar, he can easily get away or chase him down and get a lot of damage. Longzhu are backing off, but Sword Art and the rest of Flash Wolves are in the driver's seat. However, there's nothing for them to take on the backside of that fight.
MMD pulled that off without having to teleport himself. That was purely just walking across the map, not much defensive vision down, because of course Longzhu hadn't needed it. They had it pushed up to the base of the Flash Wolves. So MMD, if he's able to repeat, if he's able to TP to a ward around bot, I mean, backdooring a Nexus, that doesn't sound like a thing that could happen, but it's been a crazy game already, Sifa.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I thought he had TP'd for sure. I can't believe...
He walked his way there. He was clearing out the waves to the bottom side, transformed into Meganor, so he, rejoining his team in top lane wouldn't have netted them that much. So he said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and take out at least that in him, maybe get some damage on the Nexus.
And, have now the TP advantage. Nara can continue to split push and look to contest a fight. Maple has the blue buff as well, so it's a prime time if they want to make any aggressive moves, as Victor's is now down. Cannot afford to take an extended fight at this stage, although his upfront damage, of course, still insane. And with the Sheen, has a slightly larger mana pool available to him.
Always funny to see the pink wards just sitting inside the base so they can make sure they got rid of all of those potential TP wards from MMD.
Yeah, not to know for sure, but we know that there are no really deep wards here for Flash Wolves, and specifically for MMD to teleport on.
Ping's coming out. Looks like Flash Wolves' first step. They're going to want to clear out these waves. They've assigned Nard to the bottom side. They want to keep Longzhu away from the Baron Pit so they can get the vision, so they can secure that area.
Man, the value of smiting a wolf at this point in the game, you can see MMD sniffing out at every opportunity. Is this a way I can go? Is this a way I can go? He can clear out some of those pinks. It will help in the future. Especially looking to match him at every opportunity, and it's GA versus GA, so don't expect too much excitement in this 1v1.
No, his only job is to make sure that he can cancel the Gnar TP if necessary. Longzhu now moving up. Flash Wolves descending on the Baron.
Has respawned. Looks like Flash Wolves got some decent vision control around the pit. Longzhu still have a few wards here and there, so they'll know whether or not Flash Wolves are doing the Baron.
Expression doesn't have the luxury of visiting bot lane very often. Consider he still doesn't have teleport for about 2.5 minutes. So many wards around Baron. Another decisive Baron call may decide the game, and until Expression can be able to match the teleport, Flash Wolves should have consider considerable, map advantages in terms of rotation.
And they should, but the biggest issue for me is they only have 2 of the 5 potential pink wards on the map right now. And we praised Longzhu earlier for every single member picking up these pink wards, for placing them down, for securing pink vision. I expected more from Flash Wolves in the vision department. They could have so much more control of the Baron area, of the jungle of Longzhu, but kind of letting it get away from them. And it's a little thing, of course, to talk about just a simple pink ward, but at this stage of the game, it can mean everything if it means knowing where your opponents are going to be.
Apple's set up around Baron. The rest of Longzhu, they haven't been spotted by what was a scrying ward. Looking for a cheeky engage. They are spotted now. They're going to continue to push forward. Maybe looking to backdoor this bot lane inhibitor.
Yeah, they have this wave down bot. The rest of Flash Wolves now coming in. Not going to be able to really get the fast track onto the turret, so they won't get much damage down. You can see Fury already in the back starting to retreat.
Every time, this man is determined.
And he's going to go for it, so Flash Wolves, they just have to give him They're actually able to find Frozen. They need to stop him. Expression doesn't have his TP for about another 30 seconds, and MMD is going for it. Fury has channeled the recall. This is a GA to Gnar. He might be. He's going to be able to 1v1 this.
He's got him.
He's going back into the fountain. Gets the shield, manages to make it back in. Is going to pop the curtain call, and MMD going into the Mega Form is not going to be able to finish the Nexus. He has to peel back.
It's so critical that Fury didn't go down because he could channel the ult in as he was Chase is down.
Yeah, he is gone. Sword Art able to snipe him out with the entangling vines there. And now with the super creeps pushing in, MMD's here, still has the Guardian Angel up. It's 3 members
This should be the brute force for Flash Wolves, though.
Yeah, the Nexus is exposed. Flash Wolves just have to go for it. They have double red. Expression goes in, doesn't get the stun onto Maple, but he goes down. The rest of the team is going for the Nexus, and they're going to have it. 40 minutes, a plethora of pauses, but Flash Wolves take down Longzhu in game 1.
The chaos across the map that was caused by MMD is what won them the game. It was a bold choice not to run their rookie, to stick with MMD, who certainly had an up and down year. But he's caused so much chaos with his 3 attempts to backdoor that Frozen was caught. Suddenly the Victor was dead. We're at the point in the game where that's for a very long time. They sent just Fury to contest a full tank GA double damage item Gnar. It certainly wasn't enough. Bought him a bit of time, but not enough. Chaser caught as well, and what a surreal game is decided in the end, and Flash Wolves will go up 1-0.
It was a bit of a confusing one right there for sure. There's a lot of craziness. I mean, the backdoor Gnar, it was kind of all over the place, but hey, that was just game 1. We have potentially 2 more games of that insanity.
I pity anyone that has to write a recap of this game. It's definitely like one of those nights where you're like, I think there was a backdoor at some point. I don't really remember what else happened.
You just, a bunch of team fights back to back, and then just simultaneous clips of MMD running through the jungle to, what was that game? That was a ridiculous way to close out.
I don't know.
Flash Wolves, this has not proven anything about their ability to close at all. This was absurd.
It was. So rather than us sit here, give our guests and conjecture, we're going to throw it over to our Xfinity analyst desk and see if they can make sense of this amalgamation of a game. So Shocks, take it away.
Thank you so much, and welcome back to the Xfinity Analyst Desk, where you're going to try and make sense of that. And I want to start by a quote from Frascurrent as we were looking at this game. Rather, if you have to do a base raise, you're probably bad team.
That was a green room call. Yeah, anytime you're getting into a base race, especially when you have a lead like that, because you have to think, anytime you have a lead, there should never be an opportunity for the other team to make an equal trade with you. You should always be setting up the map, forcing them to either contest you or outmaneuvering them with your superior control. So getting into a base race, it's just like Flash Wolves. What happened there?
I don't want to throw you too much under the bus. You did say you've just played that game incorrectly. So let's look at how we ended up at this point, because the big question mark for us was Flash Wolves, trouble closing games out at Worlds. They can't seem to get it going. And it happened again. A good lead in the beginning, and they couldn't find that acceleration.
Well, I've lost a complete faith in it. The fact that it devolved to the base race, as you're saying, just really speaks to their inability to really understand where to pressure in the map, because even once they got that inhibitor where you could say, oh, we have a pressure point, all they did was just kept trying to backdoor instead of looking for actual legitimate ways of winning.
But I'm so glad that we have this highlight on your screen. So this was kind of the big first thing, because yes, they had trouble closing out the game, but Flash Wolves looked so good for the early part of the game. And we're gonna kind of go on a ride, because I have to really compliment Carcer right here.
Take it away.
So there was this beautiful beautiful play bottom, and it happened around 9 minutes and 30 seconds of the game where Karsa got behind them. They ended up taking the bottom tier tower. What was beautiful about that play is that it was actually set up at 7 minutes in the game because of how Karsa pathed. So what he did is he went Wolves into Raptor. He smited the Raptor, so he had the buff. He then went Krugs, and he went over the Drake wall. And why it was important is because using that Raptor buff, he immediately knew where the vision was going to be, and it was sitting in the river. He cleared out two wards from Longju, and then he went and he did another initial clear to grab his level 6 to level up, and then he immediately went back over the Dragon Camp, giving his bottom lane enough time to stack up the wave and create that first tower. So the thing is like, when people look at that play, they're like, okay, the taking the first tower, that's what snowballed it for Flash Wolves, that's what gave him control. No, it started so much earlier than that with just these tiny little decisions of how they were pathing and what they prioritized in their clear.
Well, that's what you can see in the draft as well. When you pick a lane of the Varus and the Zyra, as we were speaking in earlier in the draft, that you just push the waves and you can set up yourself to be in the position to really go for that first brick with triple range. It's very easy to zone out your opponent because of your poke, because of your zone, and just hammer down on the turret. And the first brick went down at 10 minutes, which is really impressive because it wasn't like they dove anybody. They just sat there. They utilized that play that you mentioned set up minutes beforehand. And with that lead, you'd expect them to transition to other parts of the map. They did so, but when it came down to actual objectives that were tier 2s, Barons, and inhibitors, completely lost.
And they didn't just do it once. Like, immediately following that play, Karsa then moved to the top side of the map. He smited the Wolf Camp despite the fact that Chaser was spotted on the bottom. So he's not smiting Wolf Camp because he's afraid that the enemy jungler is there and he's scouting it. He's smiting it just to speed up his clear. And he doesn't smite the Gromp because the Gromp gives you a buff where if you hit someone, it has the dots, you automatically take tower aggro, and they were setting up a dive top. So again, it's this preparation of not just making the dive, but preparing it 40, 60 seconds in advance.
This right here is the Baron that happened after the base race, which was one of the craziest moments in the game. But here's when they're going to try to actually come in after the first TP from MD, really trying to solidify the lead. But after they were able to get some picks, Double Red can actually sneak in. And when you have the AD hitting the barely exposed Nexus, it goes down quite easily.
That is it, and that is in the end Flash Wolves closing it down, but it doesn't make me more hopeful about what they have learned or what they have been trying to mediate from Worlds until now, because these are more of the same problems.
Well,
however, it might be enough to beat Longju.
Well, the Unicorns must be grinning backstage, watching these two teams just butt heads against each other, and none of them finding windows to close out a game quite efficiently, unlike them, which were able to, while some of the fights were a little bit greedy, they were on the right idea in most of the games.
And that's where Longju are actually powerful. It's when you get them into these 5v5 again, it's this idea that Expression is a terrific player when he shows up and when he's in the right place. It's trying to get him into the right place that is the hard fact. So fighting around Baron, fighting around Dragon, that's where they're strong because it's so obvious to be there. If Flash Wolves can just kind of go back to what made them so strong in the early game, you know, identifying these micro objectives that set up control points for them across the map, that's what they need to string together and be decisive on their victories to close these games out. Otherwise, they're a phenomenal team up to like 25 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what Longju can do in game 2 as well in sort of the decision making. They also didn't get the opportunity to have those big 5-on-5 fights that we did see them do versus the Chiefs yesterday. How can you kind of force that as a team? And what point should they have taken over the early game? Was there anyway for them?
Well, I think the Elise has a lot of opportunities, but honestly, she blew it right from the start by flashing onto the mid lane. We saw that, okay, a nice little gank, getting a summoner out of mid laner, but the second that you blow a flash as Elise, your ability to go and look for tower dives is completely nullified, especially when you're against the likes of an Italy. Just like before, we saw that you cannot invade as a Zyra into the jungle, you can't do it with Elise.
And Longju is subbing in Crash for Chaser, so we won't see Chaser in game 2. So a lot of these problems that you guys talked about, the Karsa dominating in the pathing, the pick and the Elise play will get changed. So that's an important change of pace for them.
But that's almost concerning just because where Longju have been strong, have been in those skirmishes and those 5v5s, and that's because of Chaser. Yes, Expression is mechanically super dominant, performing well, but it's Chaser. You know, if you think back to his Lee Sin, like he's the guy going and he's initiating. And while I really like Crash, especially for how proactive he is in the early game, I'm just really curious if the one thing that Longju are strong at this tournament might disappear simply because they don't have Chaser on the roster.
Yeah. We'll see what happens and what they can mediate after the break. We are going to take 5 and get back with game 2 of Longju up against the Flash Wolves. Don't go anywhere.